Oh, and we're live once again from Win the Storm Conference 2023, March 15th through the 17th, Florida, Fort Lauderdale. Oh wow! I think yesterday was almost 100 degrees. At least it felt like from coming from Pennsylvania. It felt like 100 degrees down here yesterday. I think today's supposed to be a little bit cooler. We have a special guest on here, Pete Carlson. Man, hey Pete, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. And coming from Minnesota, it was actually 110 degrees difference.
Yes, believe me, I heard we're getting a lot of wind up home, which isn't a bad thing for us roofers. But yeah, man. So here we are once again, Anthony Del Medico hosting a phenomenal Win the Storm this year. We got to meet General Michael Flynn this morning. Jana actually got his picture taken with him. My better half, Jana, did. She snuck in there somehow and got a picture. But more importantly, Pete, we wanted to get you on here. Your team wanted you to get on here and talk a little bit about what it is that you guys have been up to. Selfishly, I'd like to hear more about the backstory and then lead up to like what it is that you guys are doing today, because I heard you guys have been in business for 37 years. And selfishly, I want to know, how did you do it? How do you get to a place where you can sit back, look back and say, you know what, we've done this for 37 years. So go back as far back as you want.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, the good news is we know roofing well because we've always been in the roofing business. The bad news is all we know, right? So we joke about it, but really I started there in 86.
Wow.
So, and move forward into the business, and the five guys that own the business today, the five of us have been together 28 years at All Star. So when you talk about industry and people moving back and forth, we're just the opposite. So there's five of us that have been in the business together at All Star for 28 years. I've been there 37. The business is actually 40 years old. So, we all came from the field. We all wore a pouch. We all were on the roof. We were all, from A to Z. We know everything about it, right? So that resonates with a lot of people. That's really how we sell, right? We always joke around, we're not sales guys, because we're really not. We're roofers, right? And so we're problem solvers and so forth. And so that's really how we've taught our people to grow the business. In 2015, actually in 2014, we knew with the horsepower that we had, five guys that have been together forever, been roofing forever, that we knew that there was something bigger and better for us, right? That we had way more horsepower than what we were doing. So we decided to entertain going out to private equity and learning how to grow the business, right? And so we went down that path, and we partnered with a local firm and really started the journey about how do you formalize the business, how do you work on the business instead of in the business, how do you bring financial clarity and responsibility and discipline to the business, and then how do you scale it so that Main Street, Wall Street, everybody can appreciate what you've got and it's a scalable business. So we started that journey in 2015, partnered with our first private equity firm, and really set out right away on how do we scale the business, meaning how do we do more, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we do more? If we're best in space, how do we do more best in space? And is there more space to do that work?
Right.
So we partnered with our first firm in 15 and went right into a strategic plan on, okay, look, if we're going to scale this thing, what are the components we need? If you've never written a true strategic plan, they're horrible.
Yeah.
They take a long time, and this one took us 8 months to write. That was our first one. We had a coach, went through the whole thing. We broke it down quarter by quarter, broke it through responsibility, capital needed at each quarter to do what we wanted to do. We wrote out the plan. It was a 7-year plan. We signed off on the plan the beginning of 16, and we reached the goal by the end of 18.
Wow.
Yeah. So opened our eyes to say, oh man, like, number one, because we're hard on ourselves, right? Because we are.
Yeah.
We all are.
Like, yeah.
How come we didn't do this earlier?
Right.
Like, we just crushed this thing in under 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we beat our revenue goals, we beat our profitability goals, and we'd actually grown the business exponentially to the point where I remember sitting at a board meeting. I was talking to somebody this morning. We were sitting at a board meeting, and we had somebody run out and get us Jimmy John's. It was a formal board meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all had Jimmy John's at lunch.
Right.
And we were sitting there with our private equity partners, and they're like, boys, like this thing's bigger than like we need to rethink this, right? In a good way. Those
Yeah.
are all good problems to have.
All right.
So he said, we're really not the platform that can take you where you need to be. You need to be with a bigger firm, more capital, more strategic thinking, bigger firm that's played in the space before. Like, we need to think about this holistically. And we're either on something or onto something.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So we did a search and actually partnered with our second private equity firm in the beginning of 19. So we made that decision in September of 18, and we partnered with our next private equity firm in 2019, spring of 2019, did the exact same thing, laid out a strategic plan. We knew that we were going to do some M&A, right? So we were going to buy companies. We're going to buy companies that are good in space, and I'll get into that, what we look for in a minute. And then same thing, strategic plan. The only thing that changed, it was just as excruciating as the first one. It only took us 4 months.
Yeah.
Because we knew how to cut out the garbage.
Of course.
Right.
Yep.
So we got more efficient with the strategic plan, wrote the same thing. This is what we expect per quarter. This is the roles and responsibilities of everybody as it relates to that. Since that time, we brought in a sixth equity owner, which was our CFO. We plucked him out of a accounting firm, and he became the controller. And then really a controller works in the business.
Yes.
And then knowing that we wanted to graduate him to a CFO, and a CFO looks ahead.
Yes.
CFO doesn't look behind.
Right.
And so he became the sixth equity owner in the group. Brilliant kid. I say he's a kid because he's 15 years younger than me and way smarter than me. But he was able to forecast. He was able to look at real numbers. He was, we would go down a rabbit hole as roofers, and we'd say, "Oh, we can do that because we can do anything.
Right.
That's
We
just
can
what
build
we
anything.
do. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're just going to go do that."
Right.
And he'd say, "Okay, well, we're going to measure it along the way." I'm like, "What do you mean measure?" And he's like, "Well, no, we're going to measure it financially along the way, and then I'm going to bring you the data, and then you guys make your own decision." And so he'd bring us the data, and then he would say, "Do you want my opinion?" And we'd say, "Yeah, give us your opinion." "Why are we doing that?"
Yeah.
And we'd say, "Well, because we're good at it." "Well, okay, you're good at it, but it doesn't make us any money."
Right.
So then he would say, "What if you took the time you did to do something you're really good at and didn't make any money, and you put more time into what you're good at that makes us a lot of money? Would you make more money?" And he said, "Well, yeah, in theory we would." And he said, "Well, why don't we just do that?"
Yeah.
So it sounds so simple, Ty.
It does.
But really what it is you have to elevate yourself above the business. So fast forwarding to where we are now, and then I'll go back to some of the things that really matter, right? As people are listening, they want to understand how to grow the business themselves. So anyway, long story short, we partnered in 2019. We laid out, again, a 5 to 7 year vision of what we wanted to do, both from a revenue standpoint. This time we had a platform that we wanted to prove out. So really what it was we said, look, we know how to scale the business. Instead of doing $1 in work, now we're doing $3 in work, or whatever the dollar amount was, right? And instead of making 50 cents on the dollar, now we're making 60 cents on the dollar. So we improved margin, we improved revenue, we improved market share, we did all of that. But we also knew that to go to the next level, we had to have a platform. And really what that means is, how do you go to market? Do you chase storms? Do you do commercial flat roofing? Are you a sheet metal operation? Like, what are you? Right? So we built, in our second strategic plan, we built a platform. And then as a board, our board of directors came through and said, "Okay, now you have to prove out that platform. You have to prove that you can do it in another market, because it's super easy to do everything when you're 6 miles from home." Right?
Yes.
It's something more to go do that in another market.
100 miles away.
Right. And I was talking to your wife earlier, and you do stuff in several states. It's not easy to do the same thing as it is 10 miles from home. It's just not.
Exactly.
You're truly honest with yourself. Right. So that means when you leave town, the margins either got to be higher, the scope of work has to be easier, or you have to have 10 versions of you that you can put out all over, which is nearly impossible. So what we found was, if we had a platform that we stayed within that platform, and a friend of mine, Jason Berg, uses the term discipline. He said, "You guys are the most disciplined group I know." And I said, "Well, really, we've just learned how to do so many things the wrong way that no, we're not going there." Right. So we just stick with what we do really well. And there's all kinds of exciting stuff that comes at us all the time. And, we just stay focused. No, boys, know what we do it well. Right.
That's right.
So second group, we laid out the plan. Fast forward, by the spring of 22, we'd crushed it already. Again,
Wow.
pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And so went to our second private equity partner and said, hey, look, we're proving out the platform. We proved it out. We got to, in this certain market that we were in, we got to $2 million in profitability in 3 years from greenfield. Nothing. We didn't make an acquisition. We just took our best practice, our playbook. We went into a market, and we were at over 2 million in profitability in just that little market. So they said, okay, now you're on to something. We're probably not the ones to take you to the next level, because the next level in private equity is really what they call middle market. And that's when you get to a profitability level somewhere over 10 million to 20 million in profitability, and then you're going to 80 million. And in the private equity world, that's called middle market. So many examples and many companies that have been acquired at 20 million grew at 80 million. But really, a lot of it's through acquisition. And then once you acquire, putting in best practices, saying, look, I know you guys do a great job. Ty, you do a great job in Pennsylvania. You're an awesome guy, and you got a great reputation. We don't want you to stop doing what you're doing, but it'd really be nice if you'd focus on these 5 things.
Right.
And you do some of that now.
Mm-hmm.
We all do.
Right.
But this is all I want you to focus on. Just do these 5 things every day. And the good news for us is everybody else isn't focused on that right now, right? So we like it because it's more reoccurring in nature. It's not weather related, even though we love storms. Who doesn't?
Right.
Right. But it's more reoccurring in nature. You can build a budget around it, right?
Yes.
You can predict that it's going to happen. And you're doing some of those things today, just because I was talking to your wife. So anyway, now that we reached where we're at, then now it's like, okay, now we got to go out again. So we're in the final stages of that process right now. We're honing in on jumping onto our third partner. We've been very blessed. We've picked the right partner both times. We could go on for hours about private equity. We spent 8 years in the space.
Wow.
Dealing with everybody from Los Angeles to Wall Street. Like, we know it well. And so we know what the expectation is, both financially and go to work wise, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of misconceptions out there. But really what it does is it gives it gives the roofer a formalized platform to crush it, right?
Yeah.
We won't be distracted, even though we're easily distracted. We're
course.
all the same. Like, if you took this whole auditorium and filled this up, there's not a lot of different people here, even though there's multiple different people here. We all kind of think the same, right? We're trailblazers, right? We just roll ahead. We figure it out as we go.
Exactly.
So that's been extremely successful for us. We're here at the conference basically just to introduce ourselves, to say, hey, we're All-Star. We're open for business. We're looking to partner with good, like-minded people that want to grow their business, right? And we have certain markets that we like, and we have a methodology as to why we like those markets that's worked for us. And just trying to introduce ourselves, right? We fly under the radar. You won't find us on the 100 Best Roofer Award.
Yeah.
This is not how we roll. We're after one thing, and that's profitability for our families.
Yeah.
Right. That's really what matters to all of us. It's in our core value system. The 5 of us have been together. We're halfway through our 28th year together. So Pete always doesn't get what Pete wants.
No.
Right. Grady doesn't always get what Grady wants, but as a group, right?
Yes.
As a group, we win together. And the other thing that we're super proud of is our middle management team has been with us an average of 19 years. So we have 17 people that have been in the company 19 years, right? So why do people stay there? They stay there because you give them more money and upward mobility, right? And most people, if you can fix and a good family culture, if you can do those 2 things, you can give people that want it. People that want to move up and to the right, you have an opportunity for them. People that want to stay and just push a broom, we're good with that too.
Yeah.
So we've been blessed that way, but we work our butt off, right?
Yeah.
The work hasn't gotten less; it's just gotten different, right? We don't think of things like, hey, I got to get these 6 bundles up the roof and 9 sheets of plywood, right?
Yeah.
We just look at it different. Say, look, I got to lead a team of people to do this, this, and this. So.
I love that.
It's resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah.
We're still out there roofing every day. We still act hungry. We still act paranoid. We still do everything that we do as business owners.
Yes.
But the private equity space and what we've done in this space has been very good to us.
It sounds like it, man. There's been I tried to really focus and pay attention to what you were saying, so I wasn't sitting here thinking about what I was going to say next, because I'm really interested in what it is that you're doing, and what I guess really catches my attention, and what I feel like separates you from some of the newer roofing companies that are coming into our space, is that there's a lot of roofing companies that are being started from people that aren't from the roofing space necessarily. But what resonates with me is that I came from the production side of things, and it sounds like you
Yep.
guys did too.
Correct.
So one of my first questions is do you think, right, because I'm looking at myself and I'm thinking of my journey over the years here, do you feel like that coming from the production side of things, do you think that's why it may have taken you a little bit longer to get where you're at, or do you think it actually benefited you
That's a good question.
by not going to school and
No,
being
no,
educated and all
totally,
that
totally.
stuff? Yeah.
Well, I mean, just to back up just for a second, I would have done some things differently for sure. We would have sped up the process. I mean, for sure, right? You learn as you go along, right? And then, inherently our group is extremely hard on ourselves, right? We're hard on each other as we joke around, but we're hard on ourselves where we'll hit each other and go, how did we not see that? How did we not think of that? Like, what were we thinking? And then the other one will say, well, obviously we weren't.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're hard on ourselves, but the reality is the journey's the journey, right? It's no different than teaching your kids, right? Like I can tell my son, I can say, look, I know where you're going to go, and I know what success looks like financially, accolade, everything. I know how to, right? I'm gonna give you 7 shortcuts on how to get there, and then the last 3 shortcuts that you need to figure out on your own. But I'm gonna get you to third base. It's the same way with the roofers of today, right? So I think there's been 5 or 6 acquisitions in Minneapolis this year.
Wow.
Other roofers that have joined some type of private equity platform. We looked at, I think, all of them but one as an acquisition for us. Just didn't fit. I don't believe any of those companies were in business 15 years ago. So it talks about exactly what you just said. Right?
Yes.
Guys coming into the business, maybe they were in mortgage banking, maybe they were, who knows, maybe they were putting in in-ground pools. Doesn't even matter, right? Like smart guys that saw opportunity, matched it with hustle, matched it with timing, matched it with good luck, and all of that came a blend, and they started their roofing company, right? So the thing that's good about our business is it's very scalable, as you know, right? Like if you want to go do $3 million worth of work in West Virginia, if you have a relationship and they need a need, you got the guys.
Absolutely.
Right. So I don't look at it half empty. I look at it half full. Here's what I would say. Our model resonates with private equity for the simple fact that a big body of our work is reoccurring. Right now, you have some of that with some, because I know you guys do new construction stuff, right?
Yep.
No different than we do, right? Like I can't tell you the address that I'm working at, but I know this account and this relationship is going to bring me 30 roofs a month or 20 roofs a year, whatever.
Right. Yes.
I don't know the address,
Exactly.
but I know I'm going to get it.
Right.
So we like predictable models.
Yeah, me too.
Right? We just like that. It's easier for me to staff. It's easier for me to predict. It's easier for me to understand where ebbs and flows of workers and job soups.
Yeah.
Right? It just makes it easier. So I can't tell you one is better than the other. All I can say is that we've been very good in this space. So we do hail work. Who doesn't do hail work?
Right.
We all do. It's 18% of our revenue today. It probably should be 40, but it's 18, right?
Yeah.
And so we have room to improve.
Of course.
We have room to do better, right? And so one of the things that we've even talked about is said, hey, what if we take a best in practice storm group, guys that just crush it no matter where they're at? We're in 5 markets today. What if we brought them on? And now they were our storm platform in the 5 markets we're in. We already have work in those 5 markets.
Right.
So it's not like the sales guys are going to be out of work if it's sunny skies all day.
Yes.
But when the hail does hit, now we can grow 18 from 18 to 28, 18 to 40. Right. So it's that type of strategic thinking that you can do when you bolt stuff on and you bring good people together.
Yes.
So there's so much opportunity. There's so many good ways to go about it. We feel really strong about where we're at. And we feel really good about the journey that we're on. You never get there fast enough.
Yes.
Even though we look back on our plans and we say we've cut them in half, doesn't matter. Still doesn't happen fast enough, right?
No,
That's just how we are as Americans, I think.
Yes, I think so too. It's definitely become an Amazon type of world. Yeah,
Right.
if it's not here in 2 days, I'm wondering where the hell it is.
Right. Or am I failing?
Yes, am I failing? And like you said, we are harder on ourselves than most people. I think, especially high driven people. And obviously, you guys are driven. Your entire regime sounds like a high performing group of men and women, I'm sure. So, what would you say? So, you say you do a lot of new construction, and
Yep.
you already have boots on the ground. So, if you're acquiring other companies, are you only strategically placing? Well, let me try to think how I want to say this. So when you're moving into another market, you're already doing work there where you're trying to find these acquisitions.
Some,
Okay.
in the Minneapolis market, we're pretty well covered, right? There's a lot of good roofers in Minneapolis. They're hardy people and they work their butt off.
Yes.
So I don't know that we're really looking in Minneapolis today, but we're looking in Denver. We're looking in Chicago. We've got a roofing company that we're talking to in Kansas City that looks like it could be something. 2 companies actually, and so we're going to Nashville. We're going to be in Tennessee. We do some work down there right now, but it's relationship driven.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a project. Can you guys come down there and do it? It's going to take you a month. I need 12 guys. Right?
Yeah.
We're licensed in Florida. So we do a job a year, 2 jobs a year in Florida, but it's relationship driven only.
Yes.
Right. So we just come down and do a job for a client and then come back, pack up our stuff and go back. So geographically, we have our likes that we like to do. Let me expand on what you were saying. What am I looking for?
Yeah.
What am I looking for? Which really, when I go to my board and I say, hey, I want to spend 40 million and I want to spend it and buy this company or 20 million or 10, whatever.
Yeah.
The very first thing they're going to say is, how's the management team? Right. So I'll just, and again, this may not be somebody else's vision, but this is ours. If you want to sell us your business today and you want to go fishing, we're probably not the buyer.
Yeah.
We're just probably not. There's plenty of buyers out there,
Of
but
course.
we're probably not the buyer. And why is that? Because I need somebody that has gotten to a ceiling and they can't get any further.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to use their own capital to do it.
Right.
Right. Maybe you do want to go higher and you've got the know-how and you've got the brains and the mustard to do it.
Right.
But you don't want to put $4 million of your own dollars in it.
Right.
Right. You want to give that to mama and say, Mama, go find something in the Ozarks and let's go whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, private equity or we as a group can bring capital to that situation. But I need that management team to stick around.
Okay.
I can't do it all.
Yeah, exactly. So what you're saying is okay, so you want the management team to stay in place. So you're not
Correct.
going to bring in your own team.
No.
But are you going to implement your own processes, SOPs?
Yeah, I mean, typically, if we're coming in and we're partnering with the company, so really, I want you to think about it as we're not buying the company, we're partnering.
Okay.
Right, because I want whoever we buy the company from to reinvest as well. Right.
Yeah.
And I can do the math and show them every time that we've reinvested when we've re-upped with private equity, and the returns are stupid. There isn't anything out there I've ever done it's been as good.
Yes.
So, and I can give you the 12 companies that we bought at this dollar amount and raised them to this dollar amount, and those owners have re-upped, and they would say the same thing. So, we got a lot of evidence on the table. Still got to go to work every day. So here's the misconception with private equity. Private equity is not going to come in and tell you how to run your business. They're not.
Okay.
That's just not what they do. They bring 3 things to the table, really. Number 1, they bring capital.
Right.
Number 2, they bring best practices. They are going to help you think about things the way that we should think about them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the third thing they're going to bring you is they're going to bring you a network of support from every walk of life and thing imaginable, probably from another portfolio company that they're owning today.
Okay.
That will give you all the resources you need. Talent, they have it. Right? Resources, they have it. Hey, do you have a guy in that space? Yeah, I got 3 guys in that space. How many do you want to interview and when do you want to interview them?
Right.
Like the speed and the efficiency that goes on is it's pretty awesome.
Right. Right. Okay. So I'm gonna switch up here a little bit and talk a little bit about your culture, because you were talking about you've had people work for you, middle management over 19 years. You and your 5 partners, I guess, have worked together for almost 28 years.
Yeah. Yep.
So how do you keep that? How do you retain those people, and how do you re-recruit these people? That's what I call it. Like, you have to re-recruit your team year after year, week after week. So what have you done to keep and maintain that type of culture?
Starts with family, right? If you have family oriented people, it's easy for them to see the value of what goes on, right? My kids don't work in the business, but my kids know everybody that works at that company, right? So it's picnics, it's get-togethers, it's all of that, right? Second thing is, and this is just who we are. We're not very flashy. We're very low profile, right? I drive a pickup truck, right? Yeah. I just drive a pickup truck.
Me too.
My partner drives a pickup truck. My other partner drives a pickup truck. Whether he could afford 10 pickup trucks or 5 sports cars, we drive pickup trucks, right? Okay. Because it sets a good culture for saying, hey, look, I'm with you, you're with me. Doesn't matter if my, if I'm worth 70 times what you are, it doesn't matter, right? Like, so the culture starts with everybody's in it together. That's the first thing. The second thing that we do as far as the culture goes is you really have to understand the people that you're bringing up through the business. What are their needs? Like, what are they? Which means you got to get to know them. Right. And I'm sure you have that in your business, right? Yes. You got 4 or 5 people that move the needle for you every day.
Right.
You know what drives those people.
Right.
And so part of your day has to be, what do I need to do to make sure Steve is all right? What do I need to make sure that Todd and Todd's family have everything they need? Because if Todd is worried and focused on work and not worried about what's going on at home, Todd will do right by all of us.
Yes.
And so really it's a bottom up approach of making sure that your people, you're good people, right?
Yes.
Because we all have people in there that shouldn't be there.
Yes.
But your good people have what they need. And the people that want an upward mobility. So here's the next pitch I'll make for private equity. Every time that we've been able to re-up and go to a next group, the private equity group has made available shares of the company available. And they said, look, if we're going to grow this business, you can't do it all yourself, Pete. And I said, you're right. I agree. So who is next in line to receive some equity ownership within the business? So when we do this transaction here coming up soon, which is our third turn, there'll be 16 equity owners within the organization.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're talking about within All-Star.
Within All-Star, that's correct. There's 16 equity owners. So there's 16 people getting a check when we sell the business.
Wow.
And then when we re-up with the next group, there's again a pool of money available or shares available for the next line. And so it's went from 5 to 6, 6 to 14, and 14 right now we've identified 28 people within the company, or 26 to 28 people within the company that should they want it, right? And they work for it. There'll be equity available to them. So they get to keep their day job, they get to see a bonus, but yet they still own a piece of the company moving forward. So
plus it motivates them.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. And I studied a lot of companies that had rolled up to the $1 billion platform. I studied a lot of them over the last 2 years. And so multiple companies, when they hit the $1 billion platform, there was anywhere from 40 to 60 people that were getting equity checks when that went on. Wow. So that resonates. Yeah. Right. That's a big party.
Of course.
Right.
Hell yeah,
everybody's fired up. Regardless whether a guy's getting 50 grand or a guy's getting 750 grand. Yeah. Right.
Right.
They still have their job.
Of course.
They're still winning. Yes. Right. And for a lot of these people that work with us every day, it's more money than they'd ever see.
Of course. And so they feel like they're not being sold out as well.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So earlier when you were, and the reason why I asked you that question is because earlier you said when you went to your board and asked them, hey, I need $40 million. And the first question they ask you is what's the management team like? So is that something you're looking for when you go to purchase a company? Are you looking at the culture as well, not just the financials?
Yeah, it's the number one thing.
And how do you do that? Like you go and stay with them for a week or how do you identify what their culture's like?
So been a roofer for 37 years. You and I can be locked in a room for 3 hours. And at the end of 3 hours, I know.
Okay.
I don't know everything.
That's fair.
I don't know everything, but I know a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I only need to ask you about 10 or 12 questions.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
How you answer them and what the answers are.
Yeah.
And you've either passed or failed. And I don't mean it pass or fail. Like it's just either a cultural fit or it's not.
Right.
And so even before I get to financials.
Yes.
Right. Because we've looked at a couple companies, crush it financially, crush it. Like not only that, they're not even doing everything that they should.
Right.
So there's a ton of upside.
Yes.
Right. But culturally, it's a disaster. I want nothing to do with that.
Yes.
I just don't nor do my partners.
Right.
My financial partners are going to sit there and say, Pete, what did you get us into? And I'd say, sorry, boys.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have that conversation.
Yes.
So starts with good management,
Yes.
right? Starts with good management. And if you look at all the private equity platforms out there, and there's hundreds, they're in the HVAC space, they're in the pools, they're in landscaping, they're in everything.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Best management teams
Yes.
win every time.
Yes.
Right. And it doesn't mean that you have to have all that in place. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just back up a second and say, look, you may not have all the best management in place,
Mm-hmm.
but you have a willingness to learn and a willingness for us to help you put that in place.
Yes.
Right. But it starts with really good management. If you got good management,
Mm-hmm.
you're already across the 50-yard line and you got a full set of downs.
Yes. No, I totally agree. And we believe in wholeheartedly in a good culture. And what has helped us with that is core values, right? So we have a set of core values. We hire upon them, we fire upon them. It makes it real simple and clear for us on how to make that decision, sometimes that very uncomfortable decision, right? So we had made a hire, and we were looking for a position to be filled, and we gave them 90 days, right? We do a 30-day review, kind of fill them out, and usually sometimes it's me, sometimes it's somebody on our team, but usually on one of these meetings I sit in, right? The 30-day or the 90-day. Well, by the time 90 days came up, we just decided that she didn't fit the culture. She did great at her job. She showed up every day, but there was just I'm just going to call it energy. There was just a weird energy.
Yeah.
Like she just didn't have that it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we approached her and reviewed the core values with her, like, look, we'll give you a great referral if you need a referral, but we just decided that you just don't fit here. That was it. I mean, there was no more explaining to her, like going down through a laundry list of things that probably wouldn't have been true anyhow. It was just like, look, we just don't feel like you're going to be a good fit, but we don't want to bounce you out on your head either. So here's a 2-week notice. We want to give you a 2-week notice because we want to be fair.
Yep.
She did good at her job, but it was just, she didn't fit the culture. And that's a cool place to be in that position where more people want to come work for your company than more that doesn't want to come work for your company. We ran a couple ads, but for the most part, we have a lot of people. We attract people, and how we do a lot of that is because, and let me tell you a funny story on how this podcast got started. 3.5 years ago, we needed a way to market our charitable events. We do a lot within our community, a lot. So I'm involved with a foundation called the Workforce Now program, which encourages students to get into the trades. So we were participating in a local builder home show. So I wanted to build some gazebos and auction them off and donate all the proceeds to the Workforce Now program. So I'm like, man, how are we going to let people know, come down to the home show? And somebody suggested, why don't you do a Facebook Live? I heard of them, but I'm like, well, how do you do that? Right. So we had an iPhone 9. We went to this guy's basement. We sat in his basement and we did a Facebook Live for an hour. So we did that for about 4 weeks. Led up to the home show. At the home show, went live. Well, when we were there, we were like, holy shit, we're reaching more people outside these walls than are even coming through the doors here. Yeah. So when the home show was over, we were like, well, let's just keep doing this. So it started out promoting TC Backer. 6 months into it, I was dying. I was running out of content. We were running window month, siding month. Oh my God, it was like, okay, I'm so sick and tired of talking about roofing. I'm so sick and tired of talking about siding and energy efficient windows and all these things. Finally, I think it was Deshaun Bryant. He's got this thing. He calls himself the Roof Hustler. He'll come in and train your sales team. Reached out to us and was like, hey man, I've been watching your show behind the ToolBelt on Facebook Live. Can I come on your show? And I was like, yes, you can. Thank you, baby.
Do you have a year of content?
Yes. Seriously, can you help us out? But it was great. He was like, "This is the best podcast." Not to go down a rabbit hole here, but ever since then, we've stayed consistent. But what else? I forgot why I even started to talk about that. But it also has helped our culture. Yeah. So most of our people.
Well, no, you're able to verbalize some of the stuff that you think about, right? You're able to verbalize what's gotten you where you're at, right? And it resonates with everybody.
Yes.
And the verbal listening to it matters, right?
It does.
It's believing your bullshit.
It is.
But it's truly.
I call it they co-sign my shit.
Right.
Yeah, they thought it was a great idea to pack up and go traveling for the past 12 months doing podcasts. Yeah. And and that's the thing. I'm going to shout those guys out. Everybody at TC Backer, thank you guys so much for all your hard work. And Javi, Vic, and Mike, thank you guys. I know you guys retired. This is probably one of our last stops, but anyhow,
Yeah.
Culture is huge
Yeah,
for
it's
us.
huge. Yep.
I mean, it's without it, we wouldn't be where we're at because we're hard work, determination, picking each other up. When someone's down, we pick them up, we lift them up. Is it perfect every day? No. Do we have bad days? Yes. But that's why it's called work. There's no graduation date.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
To perfection.
No, that's
right?
right.
We're continuously trying to improve our processes.
Yep.
Whether it be with a CRM, whether it be with the way that we're selling stuff, new products, new technologies, things are constantly changing and evolving. And it seems like the younger generation are starting to get more involved in the roofing space. And again, that's where I have to edge out the ego, and I call it edging out God, ego. I have to edge out God and put my ego down and know that you're smarter than me in an area that I'm not very good at. I don't want to be very good at it. And there's other things that I need to be working on. And I just know you're going to do a much better job. It took me several years to identify that I've become the bottleneck here.
Yeah. You're the governor.
Yeah. I'm holding us back, but I'm screaming from the rooftops, go, grow.
Well, because you had to do everything yourself back in the day.
Yes.
No different than me.
Yes.
Right. I was the rainmaker. I was the guy that sold $10 million in roofing every year. Right.
Yeah. Right. And then what's crazy is I expected everyone else to do that too.
Right.
I had to take a step back and realize not everybody's going to be me.
Correct.
This isn't their baby.
Yep.
If they do $1 million, that's a legit salesperson.
Yep. That's right.
Right. And I loved how you talked about, providing a workspace so people can live their best lives. That's giving me goosebumps right now, because that's Jana and I's goal and dreams is to create a workspace atmosphere, not just family, but I love, so back in 2011, and I'm going to try not to take the show hostage on this, the insurance laws changed. Back then, everybody got paid $10.99. We had a choice to make. Are we going to make them W-2s? Do we keep them $10.99 and make them get their own workers' comp insurance? We decided to do the W-2s. So I was nervous.
Yep.
Workers' comp.
Yep.
Unemployment, all that stuff.
Payroll.
Yep. Cost more money. Plus, they're going to bring home less money. So I got a decision to make. I have to convince them that this is a good idea. So what did we do? We gave them a couple more bucks an hour.
Yep.
Put them on the books. And I thought, you know what? God forbid if I ever had to lay anybody off.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
God forbid anybody ever got injured.
Yep.
They're going to be taken care of.
That's right.
And then I thought my second idea was, how cool would it be if we could offer health insurance?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So I shared that with the group. I'm like, listen, guys, if we bust our ass for probably the next 6 to 12 months, we can measure the matrix. We'll see if we can afford health insurance for you guys. Right. So we put our nose down to the grindstone. We busted our ass. 12 months later, we started to provide health insurance.
Yeah. Good for you.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
So shortly after that, we were like, okay, how about a 401k or Roth RIAs or something like that? So now that had taken a little longer to come to fruition. But about 2 years ago, I think it was, we were finally able to offer 401ks, because I thought, how cool would it be if someone could actually retire from TC Backer Construction?
Right.
Like, dude, how cool would that be?
Right.
Right. Because we've been around long enough. It's possible, man. We can do this. Right.
Totally. Yeah.
Right?
It's the
Like
next step. Next step in evolution.
Right. The sky's the limit. No one says we can't do this.
Right.
Right. So then all of a sudden, people have been working for us for over a decade. Right. They're having fucking babies. They're buying homes. They're driving the grocery getters in their Harley
Holy
Davidsons.
buckets. This is a real business.
Yeah. Right.
Babe, do you realize what we just built here?
We'll lay in bed and we're like, what are we doing? And what happened? Sometimes it's scary. And sometimes it's like, oh my God.
Don't dwell on it too much. Like I say, just keep moving forward.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah, totally.
and that's what we do. We trudge the road to happy destiny. We don't tiptoe through the fucking tulips.
Yep.
We're trudging the road to a happy
That's
destiny. Not even about us, because we would be okay.
Yep.
I suit up and show up every day. That's my purpose. It's because of Vic and his family.
Yep.
Mike and his family. Sam, who's on maternity leave right now.
Yeah.
We're paying her to stay home with her baby for the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Right. Totally.
Who would have thought that?
Yeah.
With the health insurance,
Yep.
with the dental plan, with all these things.
With a retirement account.
With a retirement account, which
totally.
I'm going to brag here a little bit. So when we did this, inflation was starting to go up. I think back then it was like 5.5%. So I wanted everybody to have this. So I gave everybody in the company a $1 raise.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
25 cents of that's going to go towards $10 a week. You won't even feel it.
Yep.
Negotiated with the bank, told them like, look, we need it at $10, not
Yep.
40, not 100.
That's right.
I need $10. That's 25 cents times 40 hours a week, $10.
Yep.
The other 75 cents is to cover inflation.
Yep.
right? What do you think that did for everybody?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like
Yeah.
they're still feeling that.
Yeah. Well, you're bought in,
Yeah.
and it tells them you're bought in.
The guy came with me
Yeah.
from the bank. He was standing up at the podium, and he looked at me. We walked outside the room after I made this announcement. He did his spiel and explaining to everybody this is
Yeah.
how you get a hold of me
Yeah.
and stuff like that. He's like, I have never had a client do that for his team.
Yeah.
I was like, well, you've never met anybody like me before
Yeah.
because this is why I'm here today.
Well, you knew what mattered,
Yes.
right? And you knew you needed to do something because it mattered, right?
Yes.
But don't kid yourself. That also allows you to work on the business while they're working in the business,
Yes.
whatever that business is.
Yes.
So that's really what you're doing.
And whatever it takes most.
An investment.
Say, yes, it was an investment,
Totally.
like reinvestment.
Correct.
Into them, re-recruiting them.
That's right.
To co-sign my shit. And I
Yep.
say that, and I think a lot of people will misinterpret what I'm saying.
No.
It's kind of an
it
inside
resonates.
joke. Yeah.
It resonates totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's right.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that's what matters. I had the same inflection point. I don't remember exactly when it was, but I remember the feeling exactly. It was the same thing. Like, I know when it was. It was a Christmas party.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked around the room and I went, oh my God, there's a lot of families here. Right. And somebody
Amazing.
comes up to me and says, man, isn't that awesome? And I'm like, paranoid.
Yes.
Oh shit. That's a lot of mouths.
They
to
trust
feed,
me.
right? And then I just put my alpha male hat on and said, well, you know what? Moving forward, let's roll.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of how we go off into the dark night every day, right?
Yes, we do.
We just roll forward.
Yes.
And what's worked really well for me is I got 4 guys riding right beside me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's not always, like I said, what I want, but you feel pretty invincible when you got 5 of us that have been together over 130 some years.
Amazing.
Seeing all the kids, and all the kids are in college or graduated from college. There's grandbabies. There's all that going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're a formidable group, right? And it's not about us, right? It's about all of us, right? Like the company moves forward together. So it's pretty cool. You're right. Like when you build that culture and people believe in you,
Yeah.
because that's not how you and I started out.
No way,
We had
Jose.
no idea.
No.
We had no idea.
No clue.
I was an 18-year-old kid
Yes.
wearing a pouch.
Right.
I was a farm kid.
Right.
So I knew how to work.
Mm-hmm.
I work anybody under the table.
Yes.
Anybody.
And that's what has gotten us here.
Correct.
Not always making the smartest decisions,
Correct.
but being able to work
That's
hard.
correct. So with that being said, that's what we look for. We look for founder-owned businesses, guys that have made it happen every day, put their
Mhm.
bootstraps on and roll, right?
Wow.
And so when we look for investing in and teaching best practices, we want really good management teams. We want guys like that,
Yes.
right? We want cultures like that. You don't always get them.
Mhm.
And we look at a lot of stuff that's just not a fit, but it's not a fit culturally.
But
right?
you have that decision. You're in a position.
Yeah,
right
it's just,
now
I mean, you said it earlier. You got to have it in 2 days, right? It's Amazon, right?
Yes.
So there's a speed to this as well. And you can blend speed with quality. You can.
for sure.
And so we've been able to do that, blend speed with quality.
Mhm.
And so, not everybody's a fit, but the ones that are a fit, you get a pretty good feeling within about 3 hours.
Awesome.
You just do.
Yeah.
We met a guy this morning that has an unbelievable business, and he was going on and on about the business, and I was asking him questions, and we walked away from the breakfast table, and I told my partner Grady, I said, that right there is exactly what we're looking for. And Grady was already down the road. Like he was already down the road in 20 minutes because we've sat in so many interviews to get Grady goes, I got it. I'm on it.
Yep,
I'm on
already
I'm
on
like,
it.
You already know what to do, bro.
Yes.
Right?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So I got another question because I guess, how do you guys still today work together so well with 5 of you with different, I'm sure different opinions on everything. Like like, if you don't like something, like how do you get over it? Or is there like, okay, there's 3 of us, it doesn't matter what the other 2 think. Like explain that to me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a hierarchy to it, right? So, I mean, it doesn't mean that we all agree on everything because we don't.
Mhm.
But it's majority rule, right? For the most part, we'll say, look, like we made an acquisition a year ago in Colorado. I was 100% against it. I said, I want nothing to do with that shit show. Like, I don't want anything to do with it. And 2 of the guys came up and said, look, like, we think there's something there. And I said, look, if you think there's something there, it's on you,
Mhm.
right? Like I got your back, but guess what? You're going to have to micromanage it. The reality is, how long are you going to limp it along before you cut ties? And then what's the risk we're underwriting, which is really the investment we're making? What's
Mhm.
the risk we're underwriting if you're wrong? right?
Yeah.
And so then you break it all down and you say, look, if we're wrong, we still have this. If we're wrong, we lose this. I mean, so it's really really an in-depth surgical look at all of it. But that was one acquisition that turned out to be unbelievable.
Wow.
So we've owned them almost a year. We've tripled the profitability in the company. And we've had 100% retention with all the people. The owner actually left the business, which is counterintuitive to what I just told you.
Yeah.
But he was such a drag on the business. We had to shit can him.
Yes.
Like you have to leave. And he was like, I'm good to leave.
Yeah,
like, I want to get out of here. I'm like, that's an awesome mix.
Yes.
So after 60 days, we cut him loose. Actually, we made it his decision. But there's one example where we did not like if I was betting, no way. I've had other ones. 2 years ago, we had another one. We paid premium dollar.
Yeah.
It was a great business, and it completely bombed on us. We still own the business today.
Yeah.
But if you want to know how many hours we've worked on making that thing right, it's embarrassing. It's bad.
It happens.
So it happens.
Yeah.
So the reality is it happens. And so it's just one of those things, right? You learn with every single one. And the thing that we do is we do an exit interview internally with ourselves and say, okay, what did we think would happen? What did happen? What went wrong? And where were our blind spots? Right. And every time you do one, you get smarter. Right. And every time you do one, you learn to be able to pick up on little things and say, that's exactly what I was looking for.
Yes.
So it's a journey.
So how do you deal with it? How do you keep your ego out of the way when the other four guys are like, no, we want this and I don't want this? Or have you been doing it long enough to just, it doesn't even.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It's not about me. And I mean, no one even knows who I am.
Right.
It's exactly how I want it. Like, I don't want anybody like it's exactly how I want it. Right.
Yeah.
It's exactly how we want it. The second that everybody knows who you are, you're either the expectation is too high, you put yourself up on a pedestal, or now you're a target. Right. We like to fly below the radar.
Yeah. So
right?
Staying humble is key.
Oh, it's totally key. Right. And I know, we run in a pretty influential circle, and you'd be amazed how many people that we would consider our friends that are worth more money than you and I could ever spend in 100 lifetimes. You'd never know they had $1.
Love it.
And I'm talking about private equity guys too, right? Like I'm talking about a lot of really, really high net worth individuals that you wouldn't know what they had, right? We had our second private equity firm had a saying when we went to our success dinner when we partnered with them. They said, Pete, here's the deal: if you have a jet or a yacht, we're not interested.
Love it.
Right. And so it resonated with us to say, yeah, you're right. Like if I pull up and there's 7 Mercedes in the parking lot, I really don't even need to go to the meeting.
Yes.
I don't need to go to the meeting.
I love that.
And it's nothing against Mercedes, and it's nothing against exhibiting your success. That's not what that means. It says, what message are you telling your people when you pull in every morning? What are you telling your people?
Yeah.
You're telling your people, I'm important.
Yes.
Right. And I'm really important. And oh, by the way, did I tell you that I was important?
Yes.
Right. I mean,
yes. I like that.
I'm not saying that other people can't do that and get away with it. Right. Like a realtor.
Yeah.
The more successful you are as a realtor, the more expensive vehicle you have to drive. Right. Because you have to tell the client that, look, I am so successful that I'm driving a $300,000 car.
Right.
Right. It's just not who we are.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I thought we were the only ones like that. Now that's good to know that you can be successful and not live in that space where it feels like everybody else is with the Mercedes-Benz. Yeah. My $80,000 vehicle is my F-250.
Correct.
I mean, I'm still
they're
driving,
expensive enough.
Yeah, I'm
like
still
like
driving
like
an $80,000 vehicle. It's just a pickup truck.
That's right. That's right.
And that's real. I don't have 3 other cars. I do have some antiques and stuff like that. And I used to build motorcycles as well as a hobby.
But you're not throwing them in everybody's face.
Never. Right? I don't.
And really what happens is when you build the right culture and you have the right people on your team and you expose some of maybe how much you have or your net worth, your people will make excuses for you. They'll say, oh, no, he's got a supercar collection, but that's just kind of his thing.
Yes.
They'll make excuses for you, right?
Do you make excuses for me? No.
Right. So really what it is you got each other's back. That's really what it is.
For sure. Man, Pete, this has been such a great conversation, man. I think I held you hostage long enough. I think your team left you.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll let you get back to enjoying this awesome expo here, man. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. You've actually given me a lot of insight and some things to think about. So thank you once again, Pete, for coming on my show.
Yeah, you bet. Take care.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, man. We'll see you soon.